Today we're gonna find out how to make the most out of your GoPro Hero and how to take cinematic videos even with this action camera.
La montagna è il luogo che sicuramente più mi somiglia. È là dove io mi sento veramente me stessa, dove i pensieri si calmano e tutto mi riporta al centro. Ogni cosa che vedo, ogni cosa che tocco, ogni cosa che percepisco è come se diventasse parte integrante di me stessa. La montagna ha questo potere enorme. Io le confido le mie paure e lei me le restituisce in coraggio. Questo arrampicarsi, questo camminare con l'obiettivo di arrivare in cima è veramente una metafora che mi porta a vivere appieno il senso di libertà.
And welcome to a new vlog. As I mentioned in the intro, today we're gonna check out how to make great videos with the GoPro. I'm actually making two different videos. The first one, which is the one you're watching right now, is how to make the most out of your GoPro. So if you own just a GoPro without any extra equipment, this is the video for you. You're gonna find out all the settings and the composition, everything you need to take great videos with the GoPro. The next one would be how to take the GoPro videos to the next level by using extra tools and extra equipment such as sliders, gimbals and filters. So I definitely recommend to subscribe to my channel right now. Today I'm using the GoPro Hero 8 for my B-roll, and I'm actually vlogging on the Hero 6, which in my opinion is better than the Hero 8. You can check my comparison video right here. And to show you everything I learned today, Barbara is with me. You met Barbara before. We talked about her music video, which is coming out very soon, so stay tuned on her YouTube channel. Okay,
Barbara Monte.
Barbara Monte, go and subscribe right now. And the first thing I'm gonna share is to actually know your camera. That always needs to happen. You need to know your camera gear, what capabilities it has, the settings, anything you can do with the camera you need to know. As we mentioned settings, let's start with the settings. I'm gonna share what I'm using today. And I want to specify that for this video, I'm using cinematic settings. With a GoPro, you can achieve different type of filming, so you can do action sports type of videos or cinematic, like in this case. So in this video I'm talking about cinematic settings, the settings that can reproduce more or less what you see at the cinema, and it reproduces a filmic effect. That's why I'm choosing a specific field of view like the linear mode instead of the super view, and these are settings you can use of course for different types of videos, but not for the cinematic look that we want to achieve in this specific vlog. And that's something to keep in mind whenever you have a type of video in your head. Of course you have specific settings you can use to achieve that look. Also for this video I actually chose the settings to match a better and an easier workflow instead of having the best quality out of the GoPro, because my computer unfortunately cannot handle 4K files at 60 frames per second, for example, and that's something we're gonna try in the next video once again, where we're going to create proxies to work better on the laptop. And today I'm filming at the 1080p, so full HD. I chose the full HD resolution so I can edit with my computer easily. 120 frames per second, and also you want to select the linear mode. Don't go with the wide or super view because they're gonna recreate a fisheye effect around your image and they're gonna distort it. So let's choose linear, which is the most cinematic anyway. Then in terms of shutter speed, I set it to auto. It's a very bright day. I'm not using ND filters because I want to give you raw material filming with a raw camera, and we're not going to use ND filters, otherwise you should use a shutter speed which is 1/240th of a second, so double your frame rate. But in this case we want to use the auto, and even here I want to specify why I'm using an auto shutter speed. Usually we want to have a shutter speed which is double our frame rate. In this case I'm using 120 frames per second, so my correct shutter speed should be 1/240th of a second, just to have a balanced motion blur. Now, as the light condition of my video here were the same throughout the whole day, I just set it to auto to make it easier for myself, so I didn't have to change the shutter speed every time. But also take into consideration that if I used the correct shutter speed during this day, I would have had too much light entering the sensor. So I should have put my shutter speed manually, probably at 1/960th of a second, which is very quick shutter speed. But once again, for an easier workflow, I just put it to auto, and that's the reason why I'm using auto. Otherwise, always manual settings, in my opinion, are the best. That's why ND filters, which we're gonna talk about in the next GoPro video, are very useful, because they allow you to use the correct shutter speed and motion blur. And also some frame rates and resolutions don't allow me to use the linear mode, which is the most cinematic in my opinion. So this is a good combo for me, 1080p, 120 frames per second, linear mode. In terms of temperature, very bright day and very sunny, so I put the temperature at 5000 Kelvin. The light is measured in Kelvin, don't forget, and you want to match your white balance, so you want to use a good temperature here in your image. In terms of ISO, I used a minimum ISO of 100, and also I set the maximum ISO to 100, just to avoid extra noise in my image. Always keep the ISO as low as you can. In terms of sharpness, I put usually the sharpness to low, because I can sharpen my footage in post-production during the video editing anyway. So usually I recommend to use a low sharpness. I put a grid on the screen so you can work with the rule of thirds, and once again this is a different subject. But basically the screen is split into 9 rectangular shapes, rectangular frames, just to compose your shot better. And also the hyper smooth is on, and that's gonna help us out to stabilize the image. Also the frame rate, I chose 120 so you can slow down your video, but also it will help in stabilizing the image as well if you slow it down in post-production. So that's a trick, don't forget. The bitrate, I set it up to high just to get the maximum quality out of the image. The color profile is flat, once again to give you more flexibility during the color grading process. GoPro are very good in natural light, even the white balance is great. But in artificial light and low light conditions is terrible, so I definitely recommend to use the GoPro in these kind of days, or when you've got natural light, quite strong natural light anyway, just to avoid some noise and use noise reduction in post-production. And as I set the shutter speed to auto, what I want to be careful of is not to have any change of light in my clip, and that's to better match my color grading in the post-production process. So I always try to film in the same light condition with the auto shutter speed, because if you go from light to shade, the temperature of the light will change and the shutter speed will change automatically, so the color of your image will change as well, and it will be more difficult to color grade during the video editing process.
Allora sì, avvicinati mentre tiri già giù lo zaino, quindi mentre ti siedi metti giù anche lo zaino. Ok?
Dima,
Vai.
vieni.
Okay, we are talking about camera movements. There's not movements in these shots, so don't forget how steady and still images can actually look good. If you don't have any tripod, any gimbals, nothing, you just have your GoPro, then keep the camera steady and you will get the best shots anyway. As we're talking about camera movements, first of all, don't film a very long clip. So if you think about films, they are made of short clips, so you never see 30 seconds clip. Well, in certain films you do, but most of the times your film is made of very short clips, maybe 2 or 3 seconds. So don't hold your camera and keep filming for a minute. It's not useful anyway. In terms of camera movement, also, if you wanna
take some movement, just take some little and gentle movements with your hands. So you might want to do some dolly shots, going forward, backward, or moving around the subject, but very slowly and gently. Once again, not to have a very shaky shot. A great way to achieve dynamic shot is to have something in the foreground to create that parallax effect. So whenever you have something in front of your camera and then you're moving the camera, that will give a different perspective and definitely will make your clip more interesting. So always try, well, when you can, to have something in front of your lens to cover a tiny bit of the lens, not everything, of course. As the purpose of today is to climb and to walk and to hike, also play with the angle. So right now I just shot a clip of Barbara walking up, so I took a shot of the shoes just climbing up, and that's the kind of things you want to play with. So have fun, be curious, and experiment with your gear and your angles.
As we're close to the top of the mountain, let's talk about the rule of thirds. So the grid we set up on the screen.
Basically, I try to keep the subject in one of these rectangular shapes we have on the screen. So as I mentioned, you've got 9 rectangular shapes. We always try to keep the subject in one of those areas to have a balanced image. Barbara, we made it! Ce l'abbiamo fatta!
Yuhu!
1100, quanti metri?
1022.
1022 meters. 1082 meters.
And as we're talking about the filming, I just took another shot. This is something you can do, a gentle movement around your subject, and you can ask your subject to move around to the opposite side to create some dynamism. When I said earlier about knowing your camera, well, there's a great option in the GoPro Hero 8, for example, which is time lapses. Time lapses can actually be a very cinematic effect, so I definitely recommend to go and play with them. You just need to set a time interval between each shot and leave your camera on for maybe 10-20 minutes, then choose a subject with possibly something moving like the clouds in this example, and you will achieve great shots.
So I guess that's all for today, and I hope my tips are going to be useful for your GoPro footage. Also, I've already edited and color graded this video. If you're more interested in this process as well of editing and color grading, then check my videos here that you will find in the description tab, and also go and check my video making courses still in the description tab. Also, to tell the story in a better way, we have added a voiceover that we have recorded on a Saramonic Smart Mini microphone, and once again I reviewed this microphone right here, so go and check it out. So that's all, we're gonna wrap up the video. Thanks for watching. Once again, I hope this video is gonna be helpful. Hit the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one.
Seems all good times come and go your way. Child memories fall under rolling.